The city of Seattle is buying a 19-story luxury apartment tower to house the homeless. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have another interesting story coming out of the city of Seattle. Now, as everyone knows, Seattle is just out there, okay? It is one of the most tenant-friendly places. It is one of the least affordable places, I just don't see the point in investing there because all of the regulations, all the rules, all of the ways that they try to make landlords suffer, okay? So it really surprised me when I saw this article and it was talking about how the city of Seattle was buying a luxury apartment tower to house the homeless. Like, it didn't really make much sense, but it's a crazy place and a lot of crazy things really do happen there. But before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below and let me know. Do you think that buying luxury apartment buildings is going to help solve the homeless problem in a place like Seattle? I don't, okay? I don't think that the homelessness issue is caused by, them not having enough homes for these people. I think that a lot of it is caused by mental health issues and drug problems and people who just want to live on the streets, okay? So putting up a nice apartment building for these people to live in isn't going to fix the problems that they have. All right, so this article is coming from foxnews.com and it says, "From homeless tents to penthouses with views." Yeah, let's see what this article says. A handful of Seattle's more than 12,000 homeless people will soon be moving from the street to a studio penthouse with a view. The finishing touches are being put on 3 apartment buildings in Seattle's pricey Capitol Hill neighborhood, where one of the buildings has stunning views of the Space Needle and Puget Sound. But instead of being leased at market rates, the 165 units will go to people currently living in tents and in temporary shelters. The city is using a portion of the $1.9 trillion federal COVID relief package known as the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. Now, I'm not surprised about that at all, okay? So, to me, this isn't, the American Rescue Act was meant to help solve the problems that they caused by all the lockdowns and all of the people who lost their jobs and the businesses that were really struggling. And instead of doing that, now they're reallocating, reappropriating these funds for these little pet projects, okay? So they think that by buying 3 luxury apartment buildings and then putting homeless in it, that's going to solve the homeless problem. Well, they said right there in the article, they have 12,000 homeless people in the city of Seattle. And if they just fill up these buildings full of the random homeless people you see, then there's going to be tons of drugs and crime and problems in these buildings. So they're making the situation, they're not actually improving it, okay? They're making things worse by doing this. And the fact that they had to, buy luxury buildings to house these people, I mean, come on here. They did not need to do that. They're making the neighborhood worse, okay? They're making problems with all of this, okay? Market rate rents, having those people move in would have brought the neighborhood up, but now we're going to bring the neighborhood down because we're filling it up with a whole bunch of questionable people. "Everyone deserves a high-quality, affordable place to call home," said Emily Alvarado, director of the Seattle Office of Housing. "The fact we're able to produce high-quality, affordable housing at a price that's good for the public through our subsidy is a win-win. Seattle is spending $50 million, or $300,000 per unit. Developers say that's 2 to 3 times higher than what it cost them to build." But the Seattle apartment purchase seems like a bargain compared to a homeless housing project breaking ground in Los Angeles' Skid Row. The Weingart Tower will be 19 stories and have 275 units. It will be mostly studio apartments with some 1-bedroom units. The price tag is $160 million, which works out to $580,000 per unit of housing. Yeah, talk about ridiculous government waste, okay? $50 million for this project in Seattle, and the one in Los Angeles that they're talking about, that's 160 million. That's even crazier. But sticking to Seattle, okay, we're talking about a huge amount of government waste. And then we have one of these bureaucrats. Her name is Emily Alvarado, the director of the Seattle Office of Housing, thinking that, oh, it's such a good idea. We're bringing high quality, affordable housing, and the only thing I can think is, yeah, you're wasting tons of money. Okay, this is taxpayer provided money, and you're buying luxury apartment buildings in the middle of downtown. That doesn't even make any sense. Okay, now I do believe that the homeless do deserve housing, but not luxury housing, not in the most popular neighborhoods. I mean, you don't go down to Times Square and say, hey, we're going to build a luxury condo tower here, or maybe in New York on Billionaires Row. We're going to buy this huge luxury building. We're going to just put homeless people in there, and we're going to spend $5-10 billion. You know, they even said that it cost them, what, 2 to 3 times as much as it cost to build, is what they sold it for. What does the article say here? It says, I can't find it right now, but it costs significantly more to buy this than what it cost for it to be built. So they didn't get a good deal on this, okay? They got all that free, what they consider free federal money coming in, when it's taxpayer money and they're wasting it, okay? There's better ways to house the homeless than this. A lot better ways. They're part of an expensive push to get homeless off the streets, out of public parks, and into government subsidized housing, even if it means buying new buildings at market rates from developers. Affordable, deeply affordable permanent housing is the solution, says Sharon Lee, executive director of Seattle's Low-Income Housing Institute. It just takes so long to build, so in the meantime, why should we let vulnerable people, women, seniors, live on the street? Yeah, she is living in fantasy world, okay? A lot of these people, they live in fantasy world. They don't understand how money works, okay? What I would suggest would be not even to build housing within the city limits if it's so expensive to build in Seattle, or if there is a place within the city where you can build at a super low cost, maybe in an industrial area or a place where nobody wants to live, where the land is a tad bit cheaper, and then you build nice, inexpensive, but clean, stick-built properties, that cost way less than these big luxury towers. I mean, come on. They'll have all the basic necessities. They'll be clean, and it'll be way less expensive. And you put it up for, you go to private developers to do it, because the city, whenever they get involved in anything, everything seems to cost 3 times more than what it should cost in real life. So, yeah, talk about ridiculous. LIHI, a nonprofit central to Seattle's homelessness response, currently manages 40 properties with 1,535 permanent housing units. The 3 new buildings will push the total past 1,600 units. Additionally, LIHI operates 2 hotel shelters and 9 tiny house villages in Seattle with 298 shelter units. Some critics say that while city leaders spend big taxpayer dollars on homeless housing, City Hall policies may be contributing to homelessness. Full-paying tenants are having a harder time finding an affordable place to lease. Democratic Mayor Jenny Durkin recently extended the city's eviction moratorium a 6th time through the middle of January 2022, and the city council followed that by passing 2 more so-called renter protection laws. Landlords are now required to give tenants 6 months' notice of any rent increase. They're also now responsible to pay the moving costs for any tenant who moves out rather than pay a rent increase of 10% or higher. And the critics are right, okay? The reason that housing is so expensive in a place like Seattle is because they put so many regulations, so many rules, and so much mess on the landlords, on the developers, and everyone who would be normally providing affordable housing. So that's just all it's doing is driving the prices up. The eviction moratorium drove prices up even more. Okay, so when it all comes down to it, they created a lot of this homelessness crisis. There's people who just cannot afford to live there because of all of this mess. And then they just keep making more and more rules. I mean, they were just talking about, how you have to give 6 months notice now for any rent increase. I mean, that is insane. And why are landlords responsible for your moving costs? That doesn't even make sense. Okay, find your own place. You have to move. This is reality we live in, okay? You don't have a right to stay here in this property. And if I was a landlord and I was under these rules, I would just say, well, I'm not going to give a 10% increase. It's going to be a 9.99% increase in the rent, just to mess you over, okay? And every year I'd come up, oh, here's another 9.99% increase. But you got to do what you got to do, and landlords are going to do that. So, yeah, this is an absolute crazy story. They're wasting a ton of money. I'm not surprised that something like this is happening in Seattle. And, hopefully they figure out a real solution to the homelessness crisis, because this isn't it. This is a joke, okay? This is just a complete joke.